Very good evening to all our viewers, and welcome to today's edition of the Evening Review. My name is Taiwan Jabela, your host. Tonight, we are privileged to have the Chief Executive Officer of National Housing Enterprise, NHE, that is Gisbertus Mukulu, of course, whose company at the moment is undergoing an industrial action. But beyond that, we also want to understand a few things about the mandate and so forth of the company. Mr. Mukulu, thank you for making time.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And thanks to all the viewers.
Wonderful. I think let's get into it, the mandate of the company, because people seem to have all sorts of perceptions about the mandate. Let's hear from the horse's mouth.
Yeah, thank you very much. NHE's mandate in terms of our act, NHE's Act number 5 of 1993, it's basically twofold. NHE is given that specific mandate. Number one is to construct houses for the inhabitant of this country, and also to provide what we call financing or end user financing to the inhabitants of this Namibia. Now, NHE basically has got two roles to play. Yeah. We are a lending institution on one hand, and on the other hand, we are also a developer. That means we are constructing houses, especially in the low to the medium income categories of our people.
Okay, no, that's actually very eye-opening. I didn't know about the lending part. I knew of you guys constructing houses, but not.
Yes.
How does it work? The lending
it works in this way that NHE construct houses, but at the same time we are also giving loans to those people who are buying houses that are constructed by NHE.
Okay.
Yes, NHE is having a loan book.
I see. So
just like commercial banks.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Okay, I didn't know that. So thank you for that clarification, Mr. Mukulu. So in terms of classification as an SOE, because you always have this division of commercial entities or commercial public enterprises and non-commercial ones, in which category does it fall?
NHE at the moment is a non-commercial entity. And it's meant to provide housing to the low to the medium income categories of Namibia. So that is the classifications in terms of the Ministry of Public Enterprise. In terms of the PEGA classifications, we are a non-commercial entity.
I see.
Yes.
So then, because for non-commercial entities, naturally, the obligation is then on the shareholder to always make sure that you are assisted in that regard financially in terms of subsidies and whatnot. And the idea is also so that you don't get into a desperate space where you will start charging the end users more. So somehow you have to maintain a very moderate approach there. So how is funding? How would you describe it?
Well, NHE as a state entity was created by government to carry out specific activities, especially in the housing construction, and at the same time to generate revenue to sustain itself. That's one. But remember, as we speak right now, the government is in a very tight fiscal space. And therefore, NHE came up with a concept, an innovative concept called Request for Funding Proposal, where NHE is, of course, putting land, and then the private sectors, of course, or the financiers, they will come up with the technical capacity as well as with the finances. And we enter into a kind of a triple P. And then this triple P would then work in this way that the financier will at the same time be a contractor, build houses, and NHE sell the houses, and the proceed from there will then have to pay the contractor in return. And then we keep a certain number of houses for the loan book of NHE.
Okay.
Yeah, for sustainability purposes.
Yes.
Yes.
Is that linked to the headline that we had in Namibian Sun last week? There was an Italian company that made a proposition worth $5 billion or something to that effect. But of course, you were quoted saying that it was an open process. Everybody could flag their ideas to the company. Is it that kind of arrangement?
Not really, because this one basically was to gauge the market for us to, because there are financiers who are coming on board approaching NHE.
Yeah.
And this is basically to provide finances, both for short-term and long-term, right, funding. And what it means is that we as NHE, we have got a process that we need to carry out. We need to vet every proposal that is coming to the table.
Yeah.
And therefore, at this point in time, we had engaged quite a couple of them. What we are going to do from here on is that we are going to put up a request for expression of interest, so that all, including those that we have contacted, or those that have contacted us, will also be at liberty to place in their proposal. And then that will be transparent and that will be fair for everyone. Yeah, instead of us attending to, case by case basis.
Yeah. How has that process been? In fact, before I go there, one of the mandates, and this mandate was placed on NHE way before you became CEO.
Okay.
But obviously, once you become the incumbent in that position, somehow you are obliged to carry it on. What update can you give us, Mr. Mukulu, on the situation around mass housing? It has, some people say it's dead in the water now. Some are saying, no, there's still some work happening somewhere. If you can bring us up to speed.
Good. I must really commend government for coming up with a mass housing development program.
Yeah.
It's a very good initiative to provide housing to our inhabitants of Namibia, particularly in the low-income categories. So the government had entrusted NHE to carry out the mandate of building houses under the mass housing initiatives. And as we speak right now, NHE is still, of course, with a mandate of selling all the houses that were built under the mass housing, including, of course, those that are not completed at the moment.
Yeah.
So the situation as it stands now is that NHE is still part and parcel of the mass housing program. And therefore, we are also engaged in the process of completing the houses that are right now in Swakopmund and Opuo, as well as in Windhoek. So, and of course, the government had placed this responsibility on NHE together with our line ministry.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is there special provision made by government as the initiators of this program to say, yes, we are placing the mandate on you, but we are going to assist you financially in this regard to carry it forward?
What the government does is that the government is financing the constructions of the houses. And the NHE is tasked with the responsibilities of selling the houses. So on one hand, the government is providing the finances to make sure that those houses are constructed. And at the end of the day, NHE, in terms of the cabinet decision, is to sell the houses.
Yeah.
So we are part and parcel of the broader scheme of mass housing. Yeah.
What was in the kitty for you last week from Minister Ipumbushimi's budget? Did they make any provisions for you?
I may not be able to say that at this point in time, because I haven't seen, the details of the budget. Yeah. And therefore I cannot really comment on it until I saw the provisions in the budget. However, we did, of course, made a request for us to be provided with some funding for housing projects. Yes.
Okay. In terms of your time at NHE, Mr. Mukulu, you've been there for might be 6 years now,
Yeah.
or so. And it was a surprise appointment in the eyes of some, because you were coming from, I think, Okahao as CEO, and people felt that you were being thrown in the deep end. They felt that it was an underwhelming appointment, but I'm sure there are key things that you can share with us that justifies your appointment from that time.
Okay. No, thank you very much. As I alluded to earlier, at my appointment when I arrived at NHE, we came up with what we call the request for funding proposals, where we are engaging the private sectors, particularly the financiers and the contractors. And in such a process, we enter into quite a number of PPP agreements, during which NHE had constructed 1,002 houses as we speak, through that initiatives. And this is, without really diving into the nitty-gritty, this is a commendable achievement on my part. Imagine building 1,002 houses, and you are only using the limited resources that you have available at your disposal. I think for me that is something that is worth commending.
Absolutely.
Yes. The other thing that I would like to highlight as an achievement is that when I was appointed at NHE in 2016, I found the debt of NHE at 327 million. But as we speak, we have brought that debt to 94 million. Okay, that is for me really it's an achievement. Of course, upon my appointment, I had also been able to put up a strategic plan, which is ending this year. So we have now commenced with the process of compiling a new strategic plan. We had also gone as far as soliciting for land, and we have really made a lot of strides in terms of land allocations from local authorities. We bought quite many parcels of land. In Oshakati, for example, we bought 200, Kietman 77, and of course many other places, without really necessarily diving into details. So we have done quite a lot at NHE. There are couples of projects that are underway, especially in Sandi, the 35, which will be completed in a record's time, 4 months ahead of schedule. And of course 70 in Okahao, and then 30 in Omuthia, 64 in Khobabes, which is a combination of general residentials 49, single residential 49, and general residential 16. So, and there are also other projects that are also in the pipeline that we are planning to commence with come July 2023. So at least we are hitting the ground running, despite the limited resources that we have available. We are really making some strides. Yes.
One of the things that I hear a lot, it didn't start with you, but it seems to have persisted even under your leadership, is around the financial reports of the company. NHE hasn't had any in a long time, as far as I understand. What is the issue there? Okay,
maybe just to put the record straight. Of course, upon my appointment, I found the 2014 financials not done, and we had completed the 2014 as well as the 2015 and 2016. So that means we have completed so far 3 annual financial statements. And of course, for your own information, and of course the public's information, we had also completed the audit of 2017, 2018, and 2019. And this one has been completed, and soon it will be signed off, meaning that after the signing of 2019, we will then commence with 2020 to 2022, which we are likely to finish before the end of the financial year, and then we will stay current.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
We go for a quick break and then we'll return with Mr. Mukulu.
The My.NA Cars Show provides viewers with the best in-class cars content, engaging interviews, as well as a showcase of the latest cars-related news, products, and services. If you would like to feature your brand or campaign on this platform, contact My.NA at synergy.com.na. My.NA Cars, more than just a ride.
My.NA Property Show provides viewers with the best in-class content, engaging interviews, as well as a showcase of the latest property-related products and services. If you would like to feature your brand or your campaign on this platform, contact My.NA at synergy.com.na. My.NA Properties, more than just a roof over your head.
We continue the show with Gisbertus Mukulu, the CEO of NHE. Now, Mr. Mukulu, along this journey that you have painted a very successful, a fairly successful picture of, in terms of what you've been able to achieve in the past 5 or 6 years, there ought to have been some challenges too. What are the key ones that come to mind?
Yes, I think I can highlight 2 critical issues that are really hampering NHE from fully achieving its own mandate.
Yeah.
And one of them is the availabilities of land, particularly service land.
Yeah.
Because not most of the local authorities, of course, have got the means to provide bulk services and, of course, allocate service land to NHE. And I think NHE, being in the construction industry of houses, we depend solely on the local authorities to avail land. And then the second one is funding.
Yeah.
Okay. So in as much as we are experiencing funding, we are trying our best through the request for funding proposal, which I had stated earlier, to loop in the private sector, especially those with technical capacity as well as financial resources, to team up with NHE so that we can continue to provide affordable housing to our people.
Yeah.
So, and this is the kind of concept or model that we are working on. But besides that, there are also plans underway for us to try and, as far as possible, I think the headlines of the 5 billion is also a case in point, to try as far as possible to go out to the market and try to see if we can secure a reasonable funding at a reasonable rate, the interest rate, so that we can be able to roll out as many projects as possible to house as many Namibians as possible. That's exactly what we are doing. So key issues is funding, and then secondly is the availability of service land.
Yeah. On the availability of serviced land, Mr. Mukulu, I don't understand what the issue is. Do you think that the approach to that need to be refined? I mean, you fall under the same ministry as local authorities, and I thought maybe from the ministerial level, cascading downwards, that there ought to be just some channels where we say we serve the same purpose as a government and as NHE, which is a government entity tasked with the responsibility of housing, and somehow that we just coordinate this whole thing so that it's not a stumbling block and the challenge as you painted it. Is there anything that can be done in that regard?
Yeah, well, the ministry, under the auspices of our line minister, Honorable Utoni, is trying its best to at least make funding available to the local authorities to provide bulk services for the land within the localities, the various localities. But remember, that resources, the financial resources, is hard to come by, and is in short supply. The coordination is there. Maybe what is important is for us to enhance it.
Yeah.
But we are really trying our best to reach out to as many local authorities as possible in trying to secure land from the local authorities. And what we are also doing at NAG at this point in time, taking into consideration that specific constraint, is to say, even if you avail unserviced land, NAG will go to an arm's length to provide bulk services. And this is what we did in Otapi. We provide the bulk services, and at the same time we construct houses. And there were 81 houses as we speak, which are fully completed. Yeah. So those are just some of the initiatives that we are coming. But the collaboration that has to be strengthened between all the stakeholders, particularly the local authorities, ourselves, as well as our line ministry.
Yeah.
Yes.
One of the challenges that you seem to have encountered, and we just read in the papers really, is the labor relations, I suppose. I don't know how to phrase it properly, because when you came through, there were a number of senior staff members who went through disciplinary hearings. Some of them ended up leaving. What kind of culture? I know that it's a difficult question in some way, but at a broader level, if you can tell us what kind of culture have you found at the company, and how are you changing that culture for even better output of the productivity of your staff?
I think what I found there is that the organizational culture is a culture of people who do not really deliver, okay, on the results. And at the same time, one has to instill that spirit, right? And at the same time, one has to make sure that every staff, be it at managerial level, should at least have, of course, portray a proper attitude for one to be able to deliver an appropriate service to the community.
Yeah.
And that is the culture that has to change if NAG has to change for better. Yeah, so that had led, of course, to quite a number of labor issues without really going into the detail of each because of the confidentiality matter.
Yes.
So, but nonetheless, that is the crux of it.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah. Then we have now the current situation. Your employees, as we speak, are seated under a thorn tree in your premises, on strike, demanding, I think, primarily salary increments, 7%, if I'm not mistaken. The company seems to have other ideas as far as the matter is concerned. What is the issue that on the part of the company that you can not honor some of these requests?
I think what is important is that I must indicate that NAG's financial position at the moment would not allow us to heed to the demand of the union, particularly the 7%.
Yeah.
And therefore, looking at the current financial situation and the demand that is putting forth, we as management, of course, we are often tend to say that we cannot be able to afford, because what is important is for us to be able to retain the job, okay? So that at the end of the day, the employees would then have bread on their table.
Yes.
Because that is the most important, and to sustain themselves and their family. So and I think that is the issue that led to the deadlock, and hence the strike. But what is key here is that For us to be able to turn around the company, we need to work and of course produce output and results.
Yes, yes.
The results which would in the end enable even the governing structure, which is the board, to say, guys, now we are happy. So you have at least achieved something. We are now in a position to reconsider our position and of course give you something.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, so that's where we are at the moment, and that's what brought us where we are.
Yeah.
Yes.
In fairness, are they, when last, for example, did they get an increment, or amid all this rising inflation, are they keeping up with their bills? Because that is always the issue, that bread 5 years ago was what, $7, now it's $12, and then your salary has been static since 7 years ago, for argument's sake. And what is in the basket at the end of the month is no longer really enough. You become poorer with time. What is the situation in this case?
Well, it does not mean, I think, Toivo, it does not mean that energy had not given any increase. Energy had given any increase in the past. I think I can remember even 2016 to 17, 18, and then of course 19. When the COVID-19 hits in, I think it had impacted on our bottom line. Yeah. To a point that we will not be able to afford an increment, because that increment is a heavy ticket to carry throughout the year. Yes. Taking into consideration the impact that the COVID-19, the global economic environment, and so on and so forth. Yeah. And up to this very day, we are still struggling to come out of that impact. Mm-hmm. So hence energy is not in a position to really entertain the increment, but rather one would look at if the bottom line improves, of course, the company will then be in a better position to give something.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In 30 seconds, Mr. Mukulu, we've run out of time. On Friday last week, if I'm not mistaken, a new board of NHE was announced. What can you tell us about that? You know, how forward are you looking to working with your new board?
We are really excited to have a new board on board, and it's quite exciting. More especially the skill set that they are bringing to the company, and at the same time, I would also like to commend the outgoing board for the foundation that they have laid, and to make sure that the company is able to stay afloat amid, economic, downturn. We are really counting on the wisdom and the technical advice of the new board. We are gratified to work with them. We are going to give them all the necessary support. Yeah. It's management's view that with this new board, of course, capitalizing on the foundation that was laid down by the outgoing board, of course, will take energy to greater height.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Mr. Mukulu.
Thank you.
Thank you for making time.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
That was tonight's show with Mr. Gisbertus Mukulu, the CEO of NHE. Thank you for watching.